One race remains on the 2024 NHRA calendar as we have just wrapped up the Ford Performance Vegas Nationals from the strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And I've said it all season long, but once again, this is probably one of the most chaotic races of the season and has provided us some key moments for the championship picture that we're going to look back on once Pomona ends in 2 weeks' time. Some major shakeups in the early rounds of eliminations yesterday on Sunday afternoon. As you may be aware, this video is being recorded on Monday night. That is because of probably one of the craziest races of the season that we saw in the semifinal matchup in the top field, which we'll talk about later in the video when we go through a race day recap. But that ended up causing delay that had to move the racing back to Monday morning just so that way they could get the show in, which I'll explain everything that happened later. But there's a lot of significance that came with this event, not just in the racing, but from the jump on Friday. The news came out earlier in the week that Shawn was going to be making his return to the drag strip, his first time since his crash in Virginia all the way back in June. It was a huge moment for the sport to see its icon driver and the greatest of all time in terms of drag racing return back to a racetrack. And it was a huge turnout for the grandstands, I believe, just because of that. I'm not 100% sure if it is, but I have a very good feeling that a lot of the fans showed up just to salute Shawn alone. And there was a huge turnout on the grandstands, a huge ovation to see the 16-time champion return to the drag strip. And a lot of questions that arose after Shawn's accident ended up being answered this weekend on Friday. He did a couple interviews with Fox Sports as well as the NHRA going up to the PA booth to talk to Alan Reinhart. And some of the questions that arose after Shawn's accident was the future of the team, because of the fact that when Shawn's accident happened, it turned out that he was in the middle of conversations with extending sponsorship deals with some of his partners. And the question arose, would they continue to stay after this happened? There was also some questions about whether the talent was going to stay. Those questions ended up being answered on Friday afternoon in a big way, as Shawn pretty much just dropped him out of nowhere. No one really expected it to happen, but he announced on Friday in the PA booth with Alan Reinhart that Peak signed on to extend their deal for another 4 years, as well as Cornwall Tools now signing to be a sponsor of Austin Prock, which is going to secure Austin Prock's ride. He didn't exactly give a timeline on how long that contract deal is going to last, but it does secure that Austin Prock is going to stay at Shawn Racing for at least the next couple of years, which is a huge deal for that team, as that is going to secure them a major future with Austin Prock after the season that he's had. We'll talk about how his weekend went on later. As well, Shawn also admitted that he is going to be spectating for a while. He will be standing on the sidelines. He is not expecting to return to the funny car anytime soon as he continues to recover from his TBI injury that he suffered back at Virginia. And the driver who will be driving that car has yet to be announced, but if you're looking at everything, I'm highly expecting that's going to continue to be Jack Beckman. He has slid perfectly into that role within Shawn's Peak Chevrolet funny car, and I don't see any reason why you would tear him out unless he's just unable to make the time commitment to race that while he works his full-time job. So it's going to be a big question in the offseason of who's going to be driving that car. If Jack's going to stay, I would believe so that he's going to stay, just because of how well he gets along with the team, how well he gets along with the sponsors, and how well he gets along with the fans, of just being able to slide in that role. Even Brittany Force said he was a perfect fit. Brittany Force was just asked on the starting line if she would come back. She said probably not, but also admitted that Jack was a perfect role to fill in Shawn's seat. So there's going to be some major questions in the offseason about who's going to be driving that car for 2025, but as of right now, we know for certain it is more likely not going to be Shawn anytime soon. Now, the chaos began early in qualifying. Entering Q4, there were some massive names not in the show for qualifying, including the likes of Tony Schumacher, who was looking to continue his championship chase. As well in funny car, Chad Green was not qualified for the show either. Bob Taskett III was also in the bump spot. Tony would end up bumping his way up to 13th with a 3.769, hoping to survive to make the show. Jasmine Salinas would go out for her run, not qualifying in the show. She would end up bumping her way back into the show and securing her spot as well. Bob Taskett III would hold on to his qualifying spot and actually improve up to 5th after running a 3.857. Chad Green would smoke the tires during his run, fail to make the show, as well as Buddy Hull. Now, in terms of qualifying, in my opinion, probably the biggest highlight of the weekend in terms of performance, and probably if I had to give a driver of the weekend award, it's probably going to go to Travis Shoemake, who made his return to the drag strip, this time with the Scrappers racing team. He is sharing a shop with the Scrappers team, but when he showed up back, I believe, Arizona as well as Chicago, he was getting assistance from Lex June's team. This time he got support from the Scrappers team, and it showed up in a big way as he had some major improvements. He had 2 back-to-back career best ET runs, holding up in the, I believe, 5th position with a 3.724. He had a very solid run. Actually, I believe he fell back down to 13th. I believe we'll go over that later in the recap, but regardless, a huge congratulations to Travis Shoemake. He has done an incredible job adapting to this funny car. I remember seeing him back at a test in Indianapolis around the midpoint of the season. He had an impressive run there, and now we're starting to see the fruits of those labors show up as he continues to get used to driving behind the wheel of a top fuel dragster. He secured a huge sponsorship with Gillette Labs for this past weekend, which is great to see for a driver on somewhat of a lower budget team compared to some of the big name teams. He's obviously doing a great job on the marketing side, trying to get more sponsors into the sport, and hopefully we get to see him in 2025 as he, I believe, is still trying to get some deal done to go to Pomona, but more than likely we'll see him back in 2025 at the earliest. Now, looking at the race day, usually I go through the results and show you straight from Pro Stock Motorcycle Up, but because of what happened on Sunday, I'm going to start in Top Fuel so you get a better understanding of the timeline of what happened on race day. So let's look into your race day results. Tony Schumacher during the race day qualified 13th, having to face Steve Torrence, sitting 5th in the points, 105 points back from points leader Justin Ashley. Entering Vegas, Tony would have to at least make the final round to comfortably enter Pomona with a chance to win. That would not happen, however, as Tony would fall short of capturing the win and suffering a costly round 1 exit against Steve Torrence. As for the rest of the championship contenders, the usual chaos would play out on full display. All the other contenders made it to round 2, but from then on, things would start to take a turn. The first of the contenders to fall would be number 2 ranked Antron Brown, who lost to 7th ranked driver and defending champion Doug Coletta. 4th ranked Steve Torrence would be the next championship contender to fall, as he lost to 6th ranked driver Clay Millican, who made back-to-back semifinal appearances. The last to fall in round 2 would be the biggest player in the game right now of Justin Ashley, who would suffer a costly whole shot loss to 3rd in the points Shawn Langdon, who now had an opportunity to close the gap further heading to Pomona with the top 2 in the standings now out. In the semifinals, the first pair out would be the 6th place point driver Clay Millican and 8th place Brittany Force. Clay's chances of closing the gap further would end there as Brittany, who had been on rails all weekend long, continued her dominating performance to the finals from the number 1 qualifying spot. The last pair of the semifinals would be the Coletta duo of Shawn Langdon and Doug Coletta. This would end up being the most important race of the entire event, as all hell broke loose as soon as both drivers hit the gas. The first incident would happen when Doug Coletta had a massive rear-end failure on his top fuel dragster early in the run, spilling oil all the way down the racetrack and seemingly ending his night. Shawn Langdon, however, would suffer a massive failure. His car would pull towards the center line all the way down the racetrack, causing him to clip the finish line blocks and disqualify him from the race. He later admitted that was the first time he had ever hit the blocks in his career. And to make matters worse, he would suffer a tire failure as his left rear tire exploded, causing a massive spark show behind as he wheeled it to a stop in the shutdown area, and would end up being a crucial loss that would stop him from moving into 2nd in the points. Due to Doug Coletta's rear end failure, the race would end up being canceled until Monday morning due to the track temperatures becoming too cold to race on and the extensive track work required to make the surface raceable for the rest of the night. On Monday morning, Brittany Force would face off against Doug Coletta in the final round in her first appearance since Topeka of 2023. With her father on the starting line for the first time since his wreck in Virginia, Brittany Force would capture an emotional victory, ending a 2-year winless streak dating back to the 2022 Fall Vegas race. In Funny Car, Austin Prock would continue to steamroll his way through the field as he looked to clinch the Funny Car World Championship. Entering Sunday, he qualified number 1 for the 14th time this season, breaking John Force's record of 13 set back in 1996. In round 1, he would defeat Tim Gibbons, who was piloting the Terry Haddock Racing Funny Car. 2 upsets would highlight round 1 as well, as Cruz Pedregon would defeat number 8 qualifier J.R. Todd, and number 11 qualifier Daniel Wilkerson would upset Matt Hagan. Austin Prock would continue his dominating performance as he would sneak a massive hole shot win over Cruz Pedregon to cut a 133 light, allowing Austin Prock to hold on to the win and advance to the semis against Blake Alexander. The semifinal matchup of Prock v. Blake and Lee versus Beckman would be delayed due to the Coletta pair incident, both moving to Monday morning. Prock would defeat Blake Alexander, who spun his tires off the line, and Paul Lee would sneak a win after having a strong weekend when he defeated Jack Beckman on a hole shot with his 3.834 to Jack Beckman's 3.827. Paul Lee would not have the same luck in the finals though. Paul Lee would lose a cylinder very early in the run, which put him behind Prock and allowed Austin to secure his 8th win of the season, as well as a major JFR double up and allow him to clinch the title in Q1 on Friday at Pomona. In Pro Stock, the season-long KB versus Elite war continued on during Sunday's eliminations, as some key players for the championship suffered costly losses which had a major effect on the points entering Pomona. No one would suffer more than the points leader Dallas Glenn. He faced off against Christian Quadge round 1 for qualifying 5th. Christian would cut an impressive 005 light and run away to a decisive win against Dallas Glenn, severely hurting his title hopes as Aaron Stanfield had a clutch performance all afternoon. In round 1, he defeated Eric Latino. In round 2, he defeated Jake Coughlin Jr. And on Monday, he denied Christian Quadra a shot at his first national event win to advance to a key final round appearance, slingshotting him into the points lead. As for his opponent, it would be the 5-time champion and #1 qualifier Greg Anderson. In round 1, Greg defeated Chris McGahey. In round 2, he beat Camry Caruso, and the semis took down David Quadra to close the gap to the points lead and further have a shot at title number 6 entering Pomona. In the finals, Aaron Stanfield would secure a key win for his championship hopes. He beat Greg Anderson off the line and held on to take the win on a hole shot, giving him a healthy points lead for the final weekend in Pomona. In Pro Stock Motorcycle, the big focus was on the continuing war of Gage Herrera and Matt Smith. Entering Vegas, Matt Smith trailed Gage by 62 points. Some believe the Buells had the upper hand entering Vegas due to the higher elevation, but by the end of qualifying, it was clear though that the Vance and Hines crew had the track figured out, as Gage Herrera qualified first with a 6.813. Gage Herrera would keep the ball rolling into Sundays. He would methodically move his way to the finals by defeating Kia Woods in round 1 and John Hall in round 2. Matt Smith, who qualified second, seemed like yet again he would follow Gage through the ladder. In round 1, he beat Clayton Howie and went on to face Chase Van Sant in round 2. Matt Smith then suffered a costly round 2 loss as Chase Van Sant sneaked a win over Matt to move on to the semifinals. Come Monday, Gage Herrera would continue where he left off by defeating Hector Arana Jr. to meet up with Angie Smith, who took out Chase Van Sant. Lastly, in the finals, Angie would not be able to stop Gage from extending the points lead. Gage would run down the track to a blistering 6.798 to score win number 21 and 10th of the season. As for the points, that second round loss would be crucial for Gage Herrera's championship defense, as he now holds on to a 123-point lead over Matt Smith, who is the only person who has a shot at beating him, as Richard Gatson sits third, 231 points with a 3-point advantage over 4th place Hector Arana Jr. Dallas Glenn's round 1 loss would see a massive swing in the points for him. After entering with a 53-point lead over Aaron, he now trails him by 32 points, with Greg Anderson sitting in third, 56 back. Eric Enders is the 4th and final driver with an outside shot, sitting in 4th, 128 points behind. Austin Prock's win today would give him 188-point lead entering Pomona over Jack Beckman. With 192 points up for grabs at Pomona, all Prock needs to do is show up on Friday and make a qualifying attempt, and he'll officially end the title hunt and win his first world championship after a historic season and his first attempt. I've mentioned this on Twitter. We're going to look back on the season in a couple years and just stare in awe on how impressive this season has been. Because again, you talk about 8 national event wins, 11 final rounds, 14 #1 qualifiers, and then the 50-11 round record in 2024 in his first season in his funny car. Without a doubt, one of the most historic rookie seasons for a funny car driver in NHRA history. Lastly, in top fuel, Justin Ashley would keep his points lead due to Antron and Shawn failing to win the race, leaving the top 3 with a 45-point gap entering Pomona, but also not too far behind is a tie for 4th between Doug Collette and Steve Torrance at 85. Clay Millican's in 6th at 93, Brittany Force is in 7th at 118, and Tony Schumacher in 8th at a distant 127, meaning 8 drivers will now enter Pomona with a shot at a top fuel world championship. Once again, we do have highlights courtesy of NHRA and Fox. Let's look at that, and then we'll look forward to the NHRA Finals in 2 weeks' time from Pomona, California.
They ease him into the beams. Gage is ready. Andy's ready. And Gage is off to the races. He is not leaving any doubt. 679. Holy smokes, 197 miles an hour, even with the headwind. Low ET of the event.
Well, for the 10th time this season, the 21st time in his career, Gage Herrera brings home a Wally. Gage, he did it so with authority, a 679, which is the quickest run of the entire weekend. Does that ever get old?
Nah, it never gets old. You know, it's I'm having a lot of fun with this, and for us to run a 79, you know, the air got a little better. Still got this little headwind, but you know, that's just Vance Lyon's horsepower right there. You know, Andrew and his dad Byron, all of them at the shop. You know, they put on the hard work, and the bike's been on rails, you know, all season long. And I'm so glad to get this win here in Vegas. Puts a little more, takes some weight off my shoulders for the whole championship, and I'm happy to be a part of Revzilla, Vance Hines, Motul, Suzuki, and I'm happy to always, you know, be able to showcase what their hard work, and it's on to Pomona.
Woo! Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Woo! It is a 2/100th of a second advantage for Aaron Stanfield. He's good at taking it. He's usually not any good at giving it back. And at the finish line, it's a whole shot victory. 6:6:06 and 2:06. Aaron Stanfield defeats Greg Anderson's quicker 6:59.1.
Oh, what a team effort there.
Standing here alongside of the new Pro Stock points leader, Aaron Stanfield. And Aaron, not only was it a victory, which is always great, but you did it on a whole shot, and especially coming after where you went out there and just absolutely missed it the run before. What did your team have to do to kind of like right the ship for that final?
Yeah, I mean, they all went back and studied what happened, and they made the right calls here. It's a little tricky when you don't have as many race cars on the racetrack, but man, I got the greatest guys out here at the racetrack, and thank you to JHG, Jason and Nikki Johnson, the Melling brothers. They're out here this weekend. We're going to go visit them at SEMA tomorrow, and Joe Janik, all these elite motorsports boys. This was a big day for us, and it's Vegas, baby.
Woo! Final two cars of the Ford Performance Nationals take to center stage. Lee's car has a cylinder misfiring immediately, and Austin Prock is now 188 points ahead of the field, effectively guaranteeing him a world championship upon his arrival in Pomona, California. 383 beats a 398. For the 8th time in his rookie season, Austin Prock is the winner here in Funny Car. Austin, the emotion of the weekend, there was so much going on for you and this team. Brittany had tears in her eyes when she won, and the fact that you came down and doubled up for John Force at his return, what are you feeling right now?
Oh, I'm feeling amazing. You know, me and Brittany, we've been talking about doubling up all year long, and to get it done when John's finally back at the racetrack, I mean, the good Lord was just looking down on us and, you know, blessing us today. So, you know, it's been a wild weekend. It's been a long weekend, but it's going to be a damn long day. Thank you, Cornwell Tools. Thank you, Chevrolet. Thank you, GHX. Rick Hendrick, HendrickCars.com. Thank you, everyone. Monster. Whoa! Yeah! Let's go! Yeah! They snap off the starting line, and Coletta smokes the tires for the first time since the 2022 season right here at this racetrack. Brittany Force has won to the elation of her mom, Lori, and dad, John, on the starting line. One half of a potential John Force Racing double-up has been completed. 2 years to the race, Brittany Force gets back in the winner's circle. You've got the Wally in your hand, and you and I sat down yesterday. We talked about how important this race was. The return of your dad back out here in Vegas, his first race back, and the importance of holding up that Wally. What does that mean to you?
It means everything. We've been chasing this win for 2 years at this event, 2 years to this event. And it has been a long road this whole season, but I'm really proud of these guys right here. They've never given up. Their hard work that has gone into this team, their patience until we got back here, their fight to never give up. I'm so proud of all of them. And I have to thank my sponsors, Chevrolet Accessories, Monster Energy, HendrickCars.com, Cornwell Tools, GHX, all of them. It took all of us to get here. And this win right here, like I said, I've always believed that everything happens for a reason, and I believe that God has a plan, and this was his plan for us to win, to double up. Austin just won, to double up because it's the first race that my dad has come back to since his wreck in Virginia. It has been a long road. I'm so proud of him. This win right here, this win is for him.
Congratulations.
So that's going to wrap up a recap for the Ford Performance Las Vegas Nationals. Once again, if you guys like the content that we provided, be sure to subscribe to the channel today, as we'll be live in Pomona, California to give you all the updates of the action that's going to go on at the NHRA Finals from the Pomona Fairplex. It is going to be one heck of a weekend. I cannot wait to get out there to see this. We have 3 championships still up for grabs, including a top field championship with 8 drivers on hand. It is going to be a historic weekend for NHRA drag racing, as we also get to crown the new champion funny car of Austin Prock. So if you want to see what's going to be going on in California, subscribe to the channel today so you don't miss any of the upcoming content. Be sure to follow me on social media pages down below at Mighty Mac 03 on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And until Pomona, California in 2 weeks' time, This has been Mighty Mac. We will see you next time.